that he could remember.
Yeah. Did he go through the whole business of the books?
The books, yes. In fact...
You going to write all about that?
Yes.
Herb doesn't mind, doesn't think it's...
No, he told me in detail, and then he showed me the Stars and Stripes
articles about
of December 46, in which his name is not mentioned, but the fact that some chaplain
I remember
took it out.
He did. Took the books out.
He could have been court-martialed for that.
Definitely. We ran the...
Then he tried to blame it on the joint.
He did. Oh, it was the wild days. But we don't want to hurt anybody now, because publication of this might... that's what I wondered about immediately.
Yeah, well, why? Why do you think that?
All right, the statute of limitations are long in effect. He's saved, but it might...
Oh, he's not concerned. No.
He's not concerned at all.
Look, he went to General Clay with Rabbi Bernstein after the incident, and Rabbi Bernstein told him what he had done, and he asked Rabbi Friedman. He said, "Yes, I did it." And
Clay was too mature to do anything athletic about it.
Yeah, Clay was. Look, what are they going to do about it?
Steal some books.
There's 1,100 books that came finally to
the university.
To the university. Then it was on Mount Scopus, and what happened was after the war, 48. There was that enclave there, so all the books that he had saved from Germany were there. So every Wednesday, I think it was, there was a convoy, a change of convoys. So I remember this to be true because a teacher of mine told me many years ago that he was one of the guards that used to go up and back from Mount Scopus. And how did they get the books out? They used to put a book underneath their shirt.
Was it weren't permitted to take it out?
No. So that's how the books got down.
Got them all out?
Yeah.
Good. There were some good books.
Obviously, some of the best that was available there. All right, so we talked about Rabbi Shubo, Rabbi Abramowitz, and Rabbi Friedman. Was there anyone else with whom you worked?
No, not closely. I knew of a guy by the name of Littman, I think his name.
Littman, Eugene Littman, yeah.
Eugene Littman, a guy from Frankfurt, I think, but I didn't work closely with him. I knew of them, you heard of them, but I can't say anything about them, not on a personal basis. Miller, a guy by the name of...
Joseph Miller, right. From Frankfurt.
From Frankfurt.
Right.
I knew he was there. I knew Miller was there. Maybe we met at a meeting or so, but beyond that, I don't.
Right. You were never involved in any way with collecting guns, ammunition, etc.?
No. I personally was not.
Did you know anything of that, or that type of activity?
I knew that something was going on, but I never was asked to do anything in that connection, and I busied myself with our usual work, and I knew that people were leaving, people were being quietly taken away, and...
but that wasn't your...
No, I remember meetings in the DP camps where there was a question of trying to get some courses started in the DP camps. And some of the people said, we don't have to stay here to learn. We will learn with our feet, and we'll make our way to places where we will be taught and where we will live. Emotional speeches like that. So we all knew that they were being organized in groups and being led away and taken away quietly. But only specific guys were involved in that.
Now, Rabbi Friedman asserts that the Jewish GIs were insensitive to the plight of their brethren. Yes, they were willing to supply cigarettes and things of that sort, which is a tremendous sacrifice on their part, considering the value of these type of commodities. But in terms of going beyond that, he suggested that they really they were insensitive. Do you remember anything about that?
I would say that there was unawareness.
An unawareness.
An unawareness. I myself I lived in the heart of it. That I was dragged in because Jews came to me. How did I get involved in this?
In what?
In Jewish work. I was a liberal cosmopolitan internationalist. Hurrah, great guy. But I was the Red Cross director, who then was sent up to an advance party in Wiesbaden, Germany, to open up all the teletype machines and everything else, and had a 4-story building there. We moved right with the army. The Red Cross was a very special organization in this war. And people like myself in it. I was upstairs in my office on the 4th floor, and the guard in Wiesbaden, Germany, remember, and Patton hadn't yet cracked the Rhine. We were moving up with them all the time. And the guard comes up and he says, Mr. Levy, there's a woman downstairs with a group of people who want to speak with you. They're civilians. They're German civilians. So I said, they want to speak to me. They said, yes, you're the Red Cross, and your name is Levy. They keep insisting that your name is Levy, and because your name is Levy, they want to speak to you. I said, my life was involved with GIs and American Army, all other, the Air Corps. So I said, all right, how many are down there? He says, there's I don't know, 15, 20, the group out there, they were insisting on seeing you because your name is Levy. I said, select 2 or 3 of the, or 4 of the people who seem to be representatives of the group and send them up. I'll see them. I don't know what it is. He came into my room and I looked at them. And I realized immediately that they were not the regular type of German. So I said, sit down. He says, why do you want to see me? And the woman there, a lovely woman, whose name I've forgotten, she was the wife of the leader of the Gemeinde who never returned, Wiesbaden. And she said, your name is Levy, we want to see you. We've been released from the concentration camps. Well, you know the beginning. That was my beginnings. And I said, and I began to learn as to what these people were. They were Wiesbaden. Well, from that point on, occurred within me the same type of a psychological disorientation, really, rather than orientation, because I went to help these people. Now, it was not my duty to help them at all. I was there only for GIs.
And then you got involved with the JDC from there?
In a very dramatic moment. I don't know whether you're interested.
Yeah, fine.
Very dramatic moment. As we were talking, and they told me they were hungry, where they'd been, what had happened to them, and I sat there absolutely absorbed. Could I help them? They wanted some food. Food was scarce now, terribly scarce. This was 44. They wanted some food. They wanted some clothing. They wanted to get in contact with their relatives. You're Jewish. Can you help us? There's nobody here. People are coming out of the woods. People are coming out of the cellars. There was a small group. There are now 20. There are now 40. Some old members of the Gemeinde. New people from concentration camps who were drifted into Wiesbaden. So I said, at the time, you wait a minute. We had, at the headquarters company there, this was the headquarters, a Jewish captain, supply officer. So I called him in and I said, look, Morris, these are Jewish people, we've got to help them. He says, Henry, but this is not our job. I said, don't care, it's not our job. Let's get some food for these people. And incidentally, they asked me, it was coming on to Yom Kippur, they wanted a place to the services. Could somebody, they could take care of their own services, conduct them, could somebody get them a place? Well, the captain and I finally began to move. You know, I'm thinking of the George. You don't move like that. When I'm oriented to GIs and GI terminology, and I've got bosses all up and down the line, and all of a sudden I'm put on my own. What will I do for somebody that I'm not supposed to do anything for? I'll get my head hung up. Mm-hmm. But nothing mattered then when I saw these people. And then later on, it came to me what happened to me in Berlin. It happened to me personally. So I said to Morris, let's get food, for Christ's sakes. He says, it'll be too difficult getting it out of the stocks. I says, we can't wait again. Let's get it. Sent out a 6x6 truck, the old army truck, and loaded with potatoes and some charcoal for fires. And whatever else the army had, rations of various kinds from the civilian market and from the army market. But you get food to people, where do you bring it? The elementary organization. Well, we requisitioned half a dozen stores, and we put some benches in it. That would be the shul, and there we'd have a little supply place, and began to get it organized. And then we realized this was too much for us, and we had to arrange for a meeting. And we arranged to have a meeting with them, and this woman who was the speaker, and two or three other people there, at an apartment, at one of the apartments that some of them had gotten. We would come up there at night, Morris and I would come up there at night, then we'd organize it. Organization sense we had, we realized that this had to be organized. This was at night, and we were talking about who are the people, let's get the numbers of the people, what the needs are, what we can do, what do you want, in what sense can we be of help to you? Don't let it get out too much because we're not really supposed to be helping civilians. They're a civilian administration. You want to help, you go to them, don't come to us, but we were going to do it anyway. This was dark. We were in that apartment laying down the plans, and there's a knock on the door. We opened the door, and there's a guy standing outside with two suitcases. His name was Saul Elgar.
From the joint.
From the joint. How do you know?
I know the people.
You know the people. Isn't that interesting? Saul Elgar is standing outside the door there. He's wearing a uniform, but I saw the uniform was different than our uniforms. No insignia, strange, and Morris and I are doing something that we know we shouldn't be doing. Who are you? Well, may I come in? I'm Jewish. I heard there was a meeting here. I'd like to be helpful. I didn't know that such a thing as a joint ever existed, like thousands and millions of others. I didn't know. Joint, I looked at Morris looked at me, and I said, well, we're in so far. Let's see what happens here. Come on in. You say you're from the joint. What is the joint? Well, even he knows. Saul had met that type of ignoramuses before. He told us what the American Joint Distribution Committee was. I said, well, how do you know that we're here? He says, word got out that you and, meaning me and Morris, whose last name I've forgotten, Helberg, I forget him. Goldfarb, I think. It doesn't matter.
Morris Goldfarb?
I don't really know.
Okay.
Alex, I don't remember the name. Morris. Saul Elgar standing out there with two suitcases, and so he says he can help. Represents the American Joint Distribution Committee. They've come into Germany. They're going to do this, that, and the other thing. They're beginning to help. I said, that's very nice. If you can help these people, that'd be wonderful, because it would relieve us. We were walking on eggs, you know. We had anti-Semitic officers and anti-Semitic structure on top of us in the army. There were no great lovers of Jews in those days, those guys. No matter, we finally said, we turned to Elgar and we said, what do you mean you can help? What can you do? He says, I have in the suitcase here some things that'll help. He opened up, he had a suitcase full of marks. Suitcase full of marks. We said, buddy, you're in. From here on out, it's your business. We'll help. Then it began to help.
And then
sure.
And then they took you into the organization?
No. Then Saul Elgar goes back to Paris. He tells Joe Schwartz that he met some cookie up in Wiesbaden who seems to be one of the guys that the JDC might use. And all of a sudden, I get a call from Paris one fine day, and Joe Schwartz wanted to see me. Joe Schwartz. I was afraid, you know. Maybe I put my foot into it again. I said, in my big open mouth, maybe I'm really heading for some trouble. No. They arranged for me, because Joe had some marvelous contacts on top of the Red Cross. The man at the head of the Red Cross at the time was Gibbons, I think. Gibson. How do you know?
I heard.
You heard. Gibson.
Yeah.
They're helpful. Gibson was the head of the Red Cross.
Yeah.
And
He also helped the Sylvia Newlander get out of some anti-Semitic problems.
All right. So we're clicking. And I come into the JDC office, and I'm told by the Red Cross, you got orders, you can go. You had to cut orders, you know. I had to go orders into Paris, go to see Joe Schwartz, he wants to see you, and it's worthy for you to go in there and see him. I said, fine. The Red Cross gives me the permission to go in and see Joe Schwartz, why not? So I drive down to Paris. I had my own transportation. I drive down into Paris, and I walk in one day, and I see this tall, lean, aesthetic-looking Jew boy with the uniform that Saul Elgar was wearing, and no insignia, and Joe was standing there looking me over, and he said, what are you doing up there? In Joe's words, I said, I'm being very coy, very careful. I said, oh, nothing, Dr. Schwartz. Some Jewish people came, they heard my name was Levy, whatever I could do for them, waiting to see what he would say. He said, yeah, I know what you did. It's all right. He said, I know what you did, so I figured there was no longer any point. And I said, well, look, me help. He said, well, how'd you like to come to work for the JDC?
Do it legally.
we need some men who have been around. How about it? I said, I'm in the Red Cross. How can I get out? He says, we'll fix that. So there was an order sent out up above to help my demobilization sooner as soon as the war was over. We were getting quite close to the VED then. And that's what happened. And I came home. I said to my wife, I'm going back, and she almost killed me. But finally worked, and I was able to get her into Berlin, the first wife to come into Berlin when I was there. And that's the story of so many of us who came into contact with JDC.
Were they concerned with the fact that you spoke Yiddish? Did they ask you whether you spoke Yiddish?
The joint?
Yeah.
Sure.
Oh, they were.
Bass, the guy who taught us, the guy who worked for the JDC, who taught us some Yiddish, because most of them didn't know any Yiddish.
Yeah.
A few of us that knew Yiddish. And he said, you don't have to go to the class, you're all right. Because I spoke Yiddish.
Well, Eli Roth told me that there was even a song about him and his lack of Yiddish.
Oh, yeah, Eli couldn't speak any Yiddish. That's right. He couldn't speak any Yiddish. Remember, I'd forgotten that. That's right. Couldn't speak any English. But I spoke Yiddish. I still do. So we came into the JDC that way.
Okay,
Quarter
fine.
of one.
I think that's sufficient.